It's a Monday edition. Orange and blue today. That's right. Which means you can hear that, Mace. Away
canned
we
rock
go.
music.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Does Bo Nix make everything better? This canned rock music sounds like Led Zeppelin now because Bo Nix is here.
Let's not get carried away. Let's,
Wait a second,
you're
telling me not to get carried away? Brother, what's my name?
Cecil carried away, Lammey.
Carried away, that's right. Hell yeah, it feels great. Feels great, baby. Because the Broncos have Bo Nix. What doesn't feel great, I'll tell you this, Mace, is all the opinions and, I think bad or boring takes about Bo Nix. Now, for people that say they're going to be in the Super Bowl year one, okay, that's crazy. But for analysts out there, our guy Zach Bye's going on ESPN radio, and they're just tearing into this pick, and everyone has their own opinion. But let's tell the truth. Let's talk about the real grade. What kind of quarterback the Broncos are getting in one, Bo Nix.
Grade, I don't believe in draft pick grades for 3 years.
Okay, so they should have taken Devin Leary at 12. How would you have graded that?
I don't grade draft. I grade based on outcome, not on pick value.
Well, you have to say there is a grade based on who was available and what they selected. That's essentially what you're grading, correct?
But you're also grading on where you think someone might go. And the thing is, might somebody have taken Bo Nix right after? Might the Raiders have taken Bo Nix 13? Possibly, but you don't know. So to me, there isn't enough information because I don't have all 32 boards in front of me. I know you like the draft grades. I know a lot of people do, but I may have to do that. The Norman Rockwell painting, the freedom of speech painting, where it's become an internet meme where you have the guy up there talking. It's an unpopular opinion. This is my unpopular opinion. I'm not a draft. Like when I saw grades in the title, I'm like, I'm going to have to tell my truth about draft grades and why I don't believe in them.
Well, there's only one truth. And the truth is we have to say, is this a good pick or not? You know what I mean? Do we know the results? Of course not. Of course not. We're not grading the results. We are grading what the Broncos needed to compare to who was on the board and then what they did. Was this a good draft pick or no? I think both of us can say yes. And in a way, by us both saying yes, that's a grade, whether you like it or not.
What I would say is that when you have a quarterback need and it is a year in which it is unusually robust at quarterback, the fact that we were talking about 6 potential first-round quarterbacks, that's unusual. And obviously 6 in the first 12 picks hasn't happened before, right? But it's a reminder that this year isn't like others. Now, yes, I know you go back to 2021 and you had Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and Mac Jones.
Right.
And Justin Fields all in the first 15 picks. I almost say you'd have to take 2015 and throw that aside because it was based off the COVID year and say, okay, what is, 2018 is a 5 quarterback first round, right? That's, maybe more reasonable standard. And 3 of those 5 actually became good, productive quarterbacks in the NFL. That's a pretty good success rate, a pretty good hit rate. So even though you are looking at 50%, whatever in the first round, when you have such a pressing need there, you need to address it in this year because next year may not look as robust. Might be talking about 3 perhaps that end up in round 1. We don't know, but we have an idea. And make no mistake, looking ahead to next year's class and where the Broncos expect to be, that did go into their overall thinking as to deciding, is this the year to go get a quarterback?
Right. And Sean Payton talked about it. Was it the pre-draft presser when he's like, picking at 4 is different than picking at 24? I think that was the pre-draft presser. And the conversation was, could you move up? What would you do changing those assets? Well, where Sean Payton plans to be. And no, it's not 32. Okay. But I would imagine Sean Payton feels he's going to be around the playoffs. This year was 12. Next year might be 19, something like that.
Exactly. And let's say Shedeur Sanders is the one you would have targeted next year from 19. Good luck with that. Although I got to ask you this. There was a mock draft put out by CBS over the weekend that had the Broncos picking 6th and taking Carson Beck.
Yeah, that's inaccurate. Let's just say that. I'm trying to think of CBS. I was like, I hope it wasn't Chris, but I understand sometimes we have to do
it wasn't. It wasn't Chris. I hate to say it respectfully. The person who wrote it was not someone with whose work I was familiar.
Okay. And that's always something I look at, right? And someone tweeted at me. This is why I'm talking about grades today, right? Somebody tweeted today at me and they said, hey, your buddy Dane Brugler had the Broncos as 31 out of 32 teams. And I said, okay, well, I haven't seen it yet. And I will. I like reading what Dane writes. He is one of the best. And I do believe he is the best draft analyst out there. I would have it graded differently. In fact, I'm writing that up and writing up the undrafted guys at denversports.com. So make sure to, subscribe to our newsletter. It's free and all that. But okay, yeah, Dane Brugler has a different opinion than me. That's fine. Emory Hunt, who we love, had Alex Forsyth as his number 1 center last year. So people are going to see things differently. And I guess it's the rebel in me, Mace, because I always like to be different from the masses. I think there's such a thing as herd mentality or mass psychosis, where it's like Bo Nix was a reach and Bo Nix is a terrible pick. I think the people that are saying that are completely wrong. It doesn't mean he's the greatest ever. It just means if you're saying it was a reach and a terrible pick, you're likely very wrong about that.
Yeah. And the other thing, again, I mean, we don't have the boards, but when you're doing that, you're going based off of intel that you might have from elsewhere saying, okay, well, what happens? Can we move down? The Broncos decided they didn't want to risk it. And honestly, I can't blame them for that. There are conflicting reports as to how many teams had a first-round grade on Bo Nix, but it doesn't matter how many teams had a first-round grade on Bo Nix. All it takes is one willing to take him in the first round, and once all the first 5 quarterbacks were off the board and he was the last one standing before the chasm to Spencer Rattler, you kind of lost some flexibility if this is what you had to do. And at the most important position, look, we talked about it, if you decided that Drake May was your guy and that was it, come hell or high water, make the deal, then yeah, you have to be willing to think about sacrificing some draft capital. They decided Bo Nix was their guy, and they did take a little bit of a roll of the dice that he'd go to 12, but it ended up paying off. But I think the sacrifice here was not moving down and taking a further roll of the dice. I think if they had done that, they would have been talking about somebody else. And I don't know if you want to have the conversation today about quarterback, and it's Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci. Oh my gosh. Oh,
yeah.
That would have been something. I mean, you and I speculated one day, like, what's on that Friday morning, what would the conversation have been if 6 quarterbacks had gone off the board in round 1 and the Broncos didn't get any of them?
That would have been bad. That's for sure. And it would have been tough to talk about because this was the year to take the quarterback. And I've suggested, based on what happens with May, it's not a great spot for May.
No,
I think Caleb is in trouble because the Bears don't do that. I think Jaden is fantastic. I'm just worried that he runs like he's Josh Allen or Cam Newton. He's not. So I'm worried he's going to get hurt. Penix is going to ball out when he gets his chance.
Which
if he
won't
stays
be
healthy
for a while, probably.
Health is no guarantee for any of us,
No.
right? So
Yeah.
Cousins comes back from that Achilles, doesn't quite look the same. Like, you got the chance for Penix, and then Nix is there, and it's like, and JJ, of course, JJ will bring up JJ, but would it surprise you, Mace? And let's be honest, because that's what we are, and seek the truth and speak the truth. Like, if Nix was the best quarterback from this group, is it a complete surprise? I would say no.
No, because the fit matters. And actually, we're going to play a clip in a little bit of Nick
Oh, I love it.
Saban,
I love it,
Alabama
dude.
coach,
Oh,
on the draft broadcast, one of the draft broadcasts, because there are multiple draft broadcasts, talking about the fit of Bo Nix. And of course, Nick Saban coached against Bo Nix when Nix was at Auburn before transferring to Oregon. So the fit matters, the environment matters. You and I talked about it before the draft. The best two situations for any of these rookie quarterbacks were Minnesota and Denver. Coaching, environment. In the Broncos case, part of the environment is a very good offensive line last year, 8th in the league in pass block win rate. By the way, it's funny how many people try to say, well, my eyes tell me that. Eyes can lie. I mean, the eye test matters, but eyes can lie. And I think eyes lie, especially in how the public perceives line play.
Most don't know what they're watching when it comes to line play. And that's not me sounding like aloha. That's just the way it is. It's complicated up front, and you got to know what you're looking at. And you don't know the line calls. Even our friends at PFF that grade their play, one thing that we always say, and usually it's former players that say it, they don't know the line call. And that's the truth, right?
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, you can easily identify it when a quarterback is spinning into a sack. You can easily identify it when the quarterback is drifting. I mean, it came up at one point this weekend. Remember Gary Kubiak talking about Trevor Siemian drifting into sacks. And unfortunately for Trevor, he never really cured himself of that. And that was part of the problem with Trevor. So that there's that layer. There's that layer to it as well. But fit matters. Broncos have a good fit. Minnesota is a good fit for a different reason. Decent offensive line, but you've got Justin Jefferson. That's where the Vikings have an advantage. And by the way, you've got Kevin O'Connell doing all the Shanahan McVay things. It's a good environment for a quarterback to develop. And also, one thing that may favor Minnesota over Denver is that Minnesota did get Sam Darnold, who I think is better equipped to be a placeholder while JJ works to become ready, especially in that scheme that he learned last year when he was a backup for the 49ers. So he's got pretty minimal he has a pretty minimal transition going out to Minnesota. He knows the language. Whereas with the Broncos, I would argue that Zach Wilson is not as good as Sam Darnold. No. Jarrett Stidham, not as good as Sam Darnold.
No.
There may the advantage, and again, why I'd say Minnesota's situation is better than Denver's. Denver, I think, has at least as good, if not better, O-line. Minnesota, better receivers, and also I think a longer runway. I feel like one thing that could happen is that, and I do worry about this, Bo Nix, yes, he's 24 years old, and maybe he's more ready to go than some of these other prospects, but I still don't want to put him out there too soon. If he's not quite ready by week 1, I don't want to jam him out there. I'm willing to ride it out for a bit, even though if it's Zach Wilson and it looks like the Zach Wilson with the Jets, it might be painful to watch.
Yeah, we'll know soon enough, right? I've already promoted in Mile High Monday and getting Twitter hate because I said he should start week 1. And people are like, no, we'll know. Trust me, we might know pretty soon. We might know in May. We might know in August. We will know, and then we will tell you what's best for this team. And make no mistake about it, Sean Payton's not going to rush him out there if he's not ready. But the kid's a supercomputer. I expect him to be ready. And I love this Saban clip. I'm so glad you got it for us. Thank you, Mace. Your work is always appreciated by all of us.
Thank you for sending it to me. I just had to work it up, but yes.
Yeah. So should we play it right now?
You alerted me to it.
Should we play
it? Let's hear from Nick Saban, because the way he talks about fit, it's like we're all on the same page here. Check this out.
You guys have been through it and came out the other end very successful out of Oregon. And the thing I really like about Bo, and I've known him since he's a sophomore, him and Kool-Aid McKinstry played together in high school, is he's the most accurate guy in this draft. And everybody could say, well, 70% of his balls were 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. But in Sean Payton's offense, you got to get the ball out of your hand, you get it out quick, and you got to be accurate. And I think he fits.
Good fit.
He fits.
Good fit.
That's what it's about. Quarterback as point guard. That's what Sean Payton wants. So it makes sense that he would tie himself to a quarterback whose strengths pretty well mesh with what he wants to do. And oh, by the way, on top of that, he loves talking ball. Sean Payton loves talking ball. Fly on the wall for their conversations. Be fascinating to listen to.
Just one. Just one. Let me be around both of them for like 3 hours. And I won't say a thing. Maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I talk a lot, Mace, but.
So, hey, but here's the thing. They know more than you do.
So I listen.
So just shut up and let them talk, right?
That's what I did with Ozzie Newsome and Ted Thompson. Anytime I was around those two, is I just shut up and listen. I just want to hear them talk ball. Yeah.
We sit here and talk a lot, but when you're around somebody like Sean Payton talking offense, you just kind of you sit back and you listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because for me personally, Mace, I want to learn. I want to understand, and I want to learn how Bo Nix is going to fit and what's he going to do. I went back and I watched the Shedeur Bo Nix game, and Shedeur's feet have to be better. Okay. I've mentioned that he needs to be a little bit faster with his reads, like Shedeur Sanders. So you're saying, okay, Shedeur to me is the number 1 overall pick next year. So when I say this, don't think like you hate Shedeur. No, Shedeur's the number 1 pick next year. But I will tell you this, in that game, Bo Nix was the better quarterback. Maybe CU's offensive line sucks or whatever. Like, sure, all that's part of it. But I will tell you this, just from a pure quarterbacking standpoint, you had one guy like a laser with his focus and his footwork and his accuracy. And you had another guy that was drifting, that was thrown off his back foot, and he's always a beat late. Even when he's on, Shedeur's always like you don't wait till they're open. You throw it before they're open. And Shedeur doesn't do that consistently yet. So on the same field, and this is why I said over the weekend, whatever show we did, I said, next year, Bo Nix would have been about a top 15 pick. Last year, Bo Nix comes out with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. He's about a top 15 pick. He's going to go where he's going to go. This is who he is.
Yeah, and that's interesting you mention that because, of course, he ended up being a top 15 pick, but everyone's fixated on, QB 6, right?
He's the 6th one. The Broncos got the 6th quarterback.
As if they're all equal every year, as if QB 6 is the same, if QB 4 is the same. They're not. They're absolutely not. This was an outlier year, okay? I mean, last year, he probably would have been QB4, right? And like you say, QB4 in the top 15. And then are people saying the same things? No, they're not.
Yeah.
We like. I think it's important to focus on what matters and what doesn't. QB6 doesn't matter because he was not QB6 on the Broncos board. That's another thing. He wasn't QB6 on the Broncos board, and they're going by fit. Again, they're going, they want somebody who fits the Sean Payton offense.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So anyway, some could put that comment back up there because it actually leads into
from Gage.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is why I value the opinion of guys like Stink because they truly know the ins and outs of trench play. Yes, and of course, talking about the offensive line, Stink actually had something to say recently about Bo Nix and the comparison with his predecessor, Russell Wilson.
And in all his kind of analysis, there were shots at the way Russell Wilson played. Now, I don't think it was necessarily intentional. Some of it was because Sean has got some snarky asswipe in him, right? As whippy, but as do I. So, we're cut from the same cloth.
Birds
that way.
of a feather, yeah.
Right. But there's no question that Bo Nix is the anti-Russell Wilson, and that was very appealing to Sean Payton.
Well, yeah, when you hear Sean talk about Bo Nix, then you understand very, very quickly why it wasn't a fit with Russ, and I think this is important. It's about fit.
Mm-hmm.
There's that word again.
Yeah, fit from Mike Evans there. But yeah, what he was alluding to was the stuff Sean Payton was saying on Thursday night about Bo Nix. Yes. Sean Payton knew knows what kind of quarterback he wants. He knew what kind of quarterback he wanted. He did try to make it work with Russell Wilson. He did. And that's not a popular thing to say in some circles because people will say, oh, well, it's not true. But he actually did, because that what you saw last year, that was not a Sean Payton offense.
No, it wasn't.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
It was modified to account for a quarterback who was going to buy time and move around and wasn't necessarily going to get the ball off and be that rhythm and timing quarterback. Made it, tried to make it work to maximize what the team was. But was it frustrating for Payton to watch that? Oh gosh, yes.
For sure.
And we saw, like in Detroit, for example, where the frustration bubbled over into something like Vesuvius erupting and burying Pompeii.
Mm-hmm. American Pompeii. That's a great Anthrax song. But anyway, we get to see the Sean Payton offense. Ask yourself, and no matter what you do, Mace, as we'll wrap up today's show, we got a ton for you coming up this week. But imagine in your work, let's say, for me, example, let's say, because the fit with you is fantastic. Let's say I got a job where they said, hey, Cecil, we really love you. You got to do an abs. I'll go away from Colorado. You got to do a Chicago Blackhawks podcast. You know what I would do?
Yeah.
I wouldn't sound real good doing that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all love the Chicago Blackhawks, one, good for you, bud. And two, that's your thing. Well, football's my thing. The draft is my thing. If I was in a situation where I had to do something that didn't fit me, it wouldn't be good. Guess what Sean Payton had to do last year? And that's why when Nick Saban says those words, that's almost anti-Russ in itself. Just like, hey, he's on time, he's on rhythm, it's short and accurate. Come on, man.
Yeah. And Saban would know. Yeah, he understands this stuff at a pretty high level.
I'd say so.
Yes.
I'll take the opinion of Nick Saban over anybody else that's saying out there this was a reach or this was a bad pick or whatever. I'm over it, Mace. I'm over it.
We'll find out.
That we will.
How soon do you think we'll know?
If he's going to start week 1?
No, if he's the guy or not. How soon do you think? A year?
Yes. A year from now. Yep. Because if there's, and I'll even bring up Drew flashed during that 5-game start, 4-1. The Texans game was his best game. It went downhill after that. But if there's, and I expect that he starts early, and I expect there will be multiple games where he does Bo Nix flashes, and that's what we need to see. And not only will we say that, Mace, how soon does Sean Payton know?
Yeah. Well, there are some that believe about a player in the first mini camp. I'm not quite sure all that. I think what is whether they're a competitor, whether they're a baller. That immediately, I think. You can figure that out. Quarterback, it's different because it's about so much in terms of schematic knowledge, chemistry building, etc. I think you do have an idea after a year. But the thing is, there's that moment early where you're drinking from the fire hose, as John Elway would say. And that's a little daunting, but the flow then reduces over time. And then you're not drinking from a fire hose, you're drinking from a water fountain. And how are you handling it when it's reasonable at that point?
Yeah, that's for sure. RK's hairline says it's best to keep expectations very low. I hate that sentiment. Honestly, I've ranted about it before. Don't expect anything and you'll never be disappointed. You don't get anywhere doing that. Hey, I'm just going to float through life and be average, everyone. Let's have the Broncos be 8-8 forever. And then are we happy? Do you win the Lombardi trophy going 8-8? Well, maybe. Yeah. What do you do in the playoffs? But this whole keep expectations. No, we can be excited, but we also can be reasoned and rational and be it's going to take some time. It's going to take some
time, and there are going to be some bad days.
Yeah.
Bo Nix could have Bo Nix could have a really good rookie season, even be all rookie, and everyone's excited about where he might go. And yet, I guarantee you, if he has a season that is absolutely positive and you're feeling really good about it, there are going to be some Mondays where we're talking about, oh, that was a stinker, right?
Right.
It's going to happen. CJ Stroud had a game like that, right?
Okay, tell us.
Against the Jets. 10 of 23, 91 yards, 54.8 passer rating, sacked 4 times. Jets beat the Texans 30-6. That was in December, by the way. It was the week after the Broncos game. And then, of course, he got hurt in that, right? He was playing injured. He had other games that were decidedly mid, right? They beat the Saints. Doesn't even complete 50% of his passes. They lose to Carolina. He only throws for 140 yards. Basically everything is dink and dunk, a non-factor in that game. Okay. There are going to be days where you wake up on Monday morning and think, oh man, this isn't good. But you know what? That's part of the process. I honestly, I really think, and with a first round pick, again, Drew Lock didn't have a mandate. Second round pick, you passed on at 10, passed on at 20, even passed on him in the second round before making the trade to get him. You don't have that with Bo Nix. You have a mandate with Bo Nix. So you kind of see, with Drew Lock, there wasn't enough of a mandate, and there wasn't even enough in the body of work, I thought, to where they should have gone into that 2020 draft and had quarterback off the table. To me, it's like if they loved Justin Herbert before, they should have still been willing to trade up to get Justin Herbert, given how much they loved him. They didn't. They're paying the price for that. But you take this year and you step back and you let this year play out, and then you assess where he is and where you expect he can go. That's I think the best way to go about this. And hopefully he gets the whole year. Hopefully he's not dealing with injuries. I mean, that's another thing that could screw you up is you get an injury and then what? Like, look at the Colts. I mean, they barely got Anthony Richardson out there. I mean,
right.
They had a season where they were at the cusp of the playoffs with Gardner Minshew, and they feel pretty good about themselves, but they're like, we don't know. That was part of the reason why they signed Joe Flacco. They let Minshew go because he priced himself out of the clear backup tier.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, because he had a pretty good season last year up until the final moments. But they still thought they needed to protect themselves. And so they bring in the guy who was literally the comeback player of the year, although should have been Baker Mayfield or DeMar Hamlin. I mean, DeMar Hamlin nearly died. That's
did on the field, like whatever.
Yeah, that's the greatest comeback. DeMar Hamlin is the greatest comeback in the history of the sport. But no, Joe Flacco walks in, isn't that great? I think his I think he still had a negative EPA per play, if I'm not mistaken, last year.
Yeah.
For all that happened. And but they gave him a trophy anyway.
Yeah, that's what they do sometimes, right?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Well, we're wrapping up this show. We got another big week for you here. And
by the way, the stat site rbsdm.com?
I don't think I'm familiar with that.
That's where I get like EPA per play and things like that.
Okay.
Be careful. Don't have a typo on that.
Ha. Pro Football Reference doesn't have that?
I think they have some of it, but they don't have all of it. Like this, you can look up like EPA per play last year. Like I was just wanted to
send me the link. Send me the right link, brother.
Yes, you don't want the wrong link.
What's your browser history?
Yes, exactly. But yeah, like you can go and look up how a player did, and that's where you get EPA per play, success rate, and CPOE, completion percentage over expected. So yeah, Joe Flacco minus 0.016 EPA per play. So it was negative.
Okay.
Russell Wilson was positive. We're not going to talk about where Zach Wilson was. Ugh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Among 41 quarterbacks with at least 200 plays last year, Zach Wilson was 40th in EPA per play. Can you tell me the only quarterback of whom he was ahead?
Who was it?
Bailey Zappi.
Sounds about right.
Yes. I mean, Tommy DeVito was above Zach Wilson.
DeVito flashed a
Tommy
little
DeVito.
bit.
He did, and then he came back to earth pretty quickly.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It was fun for like a week.
Hey, almost anybody can look good that first game when there's no film, right? Paxton Lynch looked good coming off the bench for the Broncos in
Against
Tampa.
And he looked
As a
good out
rookie,
of the shotgun.
Because they didn't have any
against
film on
Atlanta.
him.
Atlanta, the team that made the Super Bowl, but they didn't want to run him out of shotgun. You know what I mean? Like if you look at just his shotgun stats from the Atlanta game at home, he was good.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do that. So it's about fit.
You're the last Paxton apologist.
It's not apologies. It's just the truth. Was he not good out of the shotgun in that game? Of course he was. He was like 10 of 15 for 130, I think, and a touchdown.
How much of that was in garbage time though when they were behind by 2 scores in the fourth?
Sure, it could have been.
Yeah.
That's all part of it. But to say like he was terrible forever, he's terrible against the Raiders, and he didn't study, and it didn't work. So no apologies. And
terrible
again,
against the Jaguars is a
I
rookie
think it was
too.
RK's hairline that brought up this is the guy that liked Paxton. Yeah, well, I like Bo Nix too. So take it or leave it, right? Oh, and you know who else liked Paxton? Andy Flippin' Reed. So don't get me fired up on that, Mace. It's no apology.
Yes.
It's telling you the truth.
Andy Reid liked Paxton Lynch. The Chiefs wanted
So,
Paxton Lynch.
Is
The
Andy Reid
Cowboys
happy too? Right? Should we not
The
listen
Chiefs-
to Andy Reid?
The Chiefs and Cowboys wanted Paxton Lynch. I think the thing we can say is that a lot of people got Paxton Lynch wrong, right? Hey,
Very much so. Yes.
Ruby,
very much
come
so.
here, buddy. Come here, girl. Come here. Uh-oh. I thought she was going to hop up, but she just wants a belly rub.
Well, let's get to those belly rubs.
Come here. Hey, Ruby Kens. Anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, wait. She does want to. Come on, girl. There we go. Hi. Hey. What's the word?
Well, there you
Ruby
have it.
says hi.
Ruby says hi.
Kind
You know,
of. She's just, yeah.
you know what I say to belly
She's like,
rub?
what is all this? What? Ha!
Had to get it in.
Ruby's
one.
like, she's like, what's that?
What is that on the screen? That is scaring me. Hi, Ruby. There we go.
Hey, Ruby, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Ruby.
Can Ruby help
Ruby.
us out on YouTube?
Yeah, let's do the so Ruby, you want to help us talk about YouTube? What we do? Like,
Comment,
share,
subscribe.
hit that notification bell.
So that you never
miss
vid. Yes. This is the greatest close for the show of all time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ruby.
Oh, yeah. A lot of love.
Thank you, Ruby.
A lot
Lots
of
of
love
love.
from this girl.
A lot of love
Right.
for you all out there. Thanks for helping us grow our YouTube channel. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I am at Cecil Lammey saying we appreciate you all. OBT is a BFD. And as always, stay tuned and would you please stay frosty.